Okay, welcome back to Legit Bat. Yet another episode. Still going. No Ben tonight. Boo. Wait a minute. Where's the button there? Boo. But we do have Jen, and guest hosting is Janet from Deplorable Nation. And our guest tonight is one Mr. Katillist Jones from Wh1te Rabbi7 podcast. Is that how you say it? Or do you say it Wh1te Rabbi7?
No, it's Wh1te Rabbi7. Usually people fuck up Katillist, so I have been called Wh1te Rabbi before. And I'm like,
well, yeah, I saw that. No, I have it up on screen for people who are watching on video. It's just go to his Linktree. It's Linktree/Katillist, so that'll work better. And of course, Janet, where can we find all your stuff?
Everywhere, at my house, on the street corner. Yeah, no. You can find my podcast on every platform, plus on Roku TV at Patriot Podcast Network for now.
Awesome. And we all thank you for putting a bra on before the show so we don't have a floppy tip monster.
I know, right? We just literally watched a movie that had a floppy tip monster in it. So, yeah, I didn't want to...
Are you talking torpedoes or what? Or like pancakes?
Are we talking like Nancy Pelosi titties or
AOC? Which one?
That would be probably closer to Nancy because I think hers are a little bigger. Yeah.
I think she's had them done.
And I am old, so, I can tuck them in my pants if I need to for extra warmth in the winter.
There's no way Pelosi's tits are all real, though. She's like 80 something. They would look like prunes by now. There's no way.
Yeah, no. Mine are real. I really can't tuck them in my pants. That was a joke because mine are still perky. Because I'm not Nancy's age yet.
Okay, we're all gonna have droopy shit by that age. Comes with the territory. Well, Katillist, why don't you introduce yourself and your show and the kind of things you talk about over at Wh1te Rabbi7, which I think we have a pretty good guess what kind of stuff you talk about.
Katillist Jones, like you said, at the Wh1te Rabbi7 podcast. Everybody asks me why I chose that name, and it's Katillist because I want to be the spark that creates change, right? And keep up with the Joneses, so keep up with the Katillist. And Wh1te Rabbi7 just kind of came to me because I was a huge, Alice in Wonderland fan, Matrix fan type of thing until I found out about Alice in Wonderland actually being an MK Ultra project and whatnot. But the kind of things that I like to talk about on my show is everything conspiracy related. Like, I really should have just called my show Question Everything if there wasn't already 500 shows called Question Everything.
There really is too, or at least with that tagline. Shout out Matt from Great Deception. But it's a good...
Hi, Matt. We love you.
That's a great motto to have. But what kind of things you've been focused on lately? Have you done any current events, or you kind of go deep down the holes of like older conspiracies, or how's that going?
Man, nothing is off limits at all. The things that I really like to talk about is, recently I would say like the past few months is more stuff that like Matt is talking about as far as like hidden history, free energy, Tartaria, stuff like that. But what really, really gets my dick hard is when people start talking about flat earth and hollow earth and realms and shit like that.
Well, where do you fall on that spectrum with flat versus hollow or round or a cube, or what do you think it is?
I think that we live in a simulated hollow flat earth. And I'm dead serious.
Good as answer as any.
Yes. So, and I believe it's honestly a realm. And the more that I look into it and just things that I uncover, it's like, for one, you can't prove anything. So let's go ahead and start with what can we disprove? And that's what I really like to focus on is what can I disprove, and then push that aside so that we can focus on something else. I've never been able to disprove flat earth. I've been able to disprove round earth over and over and over again. Hollow earth is something new to me because I recently had a show with the Yasmin from Etheric Odyssey and Big Country from Whiskey, Beer, and Conspiracies. And at the time, my co-host was Sean Chris, and he was really into hollow earth. And so we had like 3 different perspectives on it, and it was like a great discussion. And I came into it as a flat earther, and at the end of it, I left thinking everything is fucking possible all at once.
Yeah. That's kind of where I fall with it. If you gun to my head, I would say Actually, I'd just say I don't know, but I mean, we grew up with the round Earth, so it's really hard to push that out. And I'm not pushing anything out. I'm not pushing out flat, round, like I said, cube, could be a triangle, who knows? But just from like what you're talking about, the things you can see with your own eyes, it's pretty hard to prove fucking any of it. And then the math, you get into the math, and we just talked about this the other day about how all that's mostly theoretical shit. So when they lay out an equation, 2 pages long and go, see, Earth is round. It's like, well, I don't even read Chinese, so I can't read this. So,
but if they made the equations, they can make the equation, equal whatever they want. So they could say
Right.
Earth is round and this equation matches this, but they made the math too. And that's how we learned that. So, I mean, I think it's definitely a realm as well. I don't think we're on this ball spinning through space. And I don't know. I think this is a place where souls come to. So it could be anything. It could be round, flat, whatever. I don't care either way, but I'm definitely open to everything and not married to one.
and I love watching people fight about it.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
great.
Right.
And people
And there
will
are some nasty ones.
on both ends too. It's if you're not for flat Earth, fuck you. If you're not a glober, then you just need to go back to school. You're dumb. Like it gets
Yeah.
ridiculous. It is fun to just kind of sit back and watch. But I am guilty of being one of those fuck you first to flat earthers. I set out to prove it wrong, and then like after about 2 years into it, I was like, dude, I have to admit, like I was fooled. Like Santa Claus is not real. Fuck yet again.
That's what happens to a lot of flat earthers, though. I've heard that from several people who are very into flat earth, that like David Weiss, even they started out trying to prove it wrong. And then they turn into full blown, like, oh my God, this is the way it is, everybody. So I think we all have to go about trying to prove that the earth is round before we say it's not flat. Everyone should just do that. And if you can find a really good reason why you think it's a ball, please email us at legitfatpod@gmail.com so we can have a flat earth debate with Moral Bob again. I need someone who's a ball person who really has their facts down because he's so cool, but his opponent didn't have their shit together.
I think the reason that a lot of people, like mathematicians or people who would be more on the ball side, they never agree to come on to these debates in the first place. And I think it would be kind of a wash anyway, because I think they'd come on and be like I said, here's 2 pages of equations. This is why the earth is round. And everyone would be
because
going,
NASA
no,
says so.
make it
Exactly.
for retards like us. Please, show us one picture, one photo. Do you see the photos from the other day? There was one from a few months ago that showed a shot from behind the moon, and you see the earth behind it, and the earth is massive and the moon's about a third or whatever it is. And then they put out this new photo from the Artemis launch, and it's on the moon basically, and the earth looks like a little pinprick in the distance. So you get these two different so-called photos from NASA showing from the same angle, but two wildly different dimensions. So I love that kind of stuff, because it's like, how do you reconcile those two? I wish I knew somebody at NASA who could get back to me about that.
I might have a guest for you actually to debate Moral Bob, and he wanted to come on my show, and the only reason I'm not having him on is because he jumped to name calling really quickly. But this guy tells me that he became a science teacher because of me, because he does not want kids to grow up as stupid as I am.
Oh wow.
Jesus.
And
That's
so
the other
Well,
thing.
here's
You
a
start
cookie.
resorting to
That
name
was
calling,
nice.
and then you don't have much of a debate. It's just people throwing rocks at each other the whole time. It's like,
Mhm.
I know.
Yeah.
And I know that it went that way during the debate as well. That's why I was like, I'm just going to research it myself, because I know Moral Bob wouldn't call me names. So, or we had another guest on, and she's really nice, and I know they know each other. I think if he could respect someone, it wouldn't go to that level. If you can just respect the other person and not, I don't know. The whole point is it's a debate, but you're not supposed to be shitting on the other person. You're supposed to be spreading knowledge to the people who are listening to the show. That should be the point. That's what I want out of it.
Giving people maybe a different viewpoint to look at the same exact thing. But yeah, sometimes people get very, very nasty when they're trying to explain stuff.
Yeah, very
with
nasty.
everything too.
But I feel
Same
like if
happened with
you get
COVID, so.
angry, if you get angry about something in your set beliefs or something, then that just means that you're not explaining it correctly enough, or
Right.
you're wrong. Just period, you're wrong. as far as flat earth goes, I was married to the flat earth for a good 4 years, I would say. And just recently I started opening up to the fact that I don't know what the fuck this is. And kind of like that whole theory is, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound, right? So I feel like we're able to perceive things and what our mind allows us to perceive them. So if you
100%.
believe that this is a globe and you go up in an airplane, your brain is going to tell you, look, it's curved. But if you're dead set that it's flat, your brain is going to tell you, look, that's a perfectly flat horizon. And I feel like we're able to perceive things that our brain will only allow us to perceive. So really that argument, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's wrong, who's right, because at the end of the day, nobody knows.
Yeah,
You know,
and
it's I was going to say it's funny because Greg's son went jumping out of an airplane recently, and so he came over the other day and was showing his dad like the videos and stuff that were taken by people, and he goes, "Look, see, you can see the curvature of the earth." And Greg was like, "Okay, Caleb, sure you can." And then he goes, "Look here at the end of the video, though, Caleb, because it's still curved on the ground, which means that it's a fisheye lens."
yeah. That's one of the funniest things, the fisheye lens thing, because I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many other camera tricks too. It's
Right,
not just fisheye lens. Like you can do whatever you want with photos nowadays, and half the
right.
NASA photos, if not all of them, all say a composite or a rendering. And I never understood that. Like even when they show outside the windows of the space station or whatever they're on, they'll
Mhm.
go be like, "Oh, look, here's Earth," and then keep going, and then then you got somebody, I think OBDM or somebody was just talking about this, how they'll have a water glass sitting on a table. And it's like you're on the space station going 17,000 miles an hour, and there's supposed to be no gravity. How's there a water glass sitting on this table? So yeah,
Exactly.
but like Catalyst was saying, yeah, it's kind of perception is reality. So whatever
Mhm.
your brain is tuned to see, and I think that's why we see other things like with the UFOs and why people perceive them differently. Some
Mhm.
people see a glowing orange ball, some people see a disc, or it could just be how their brain's receiving it. Could be different stuff too. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of things out there that we can't see because we've never seen it before.
Mhm.
Have you ever I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys. This happened to me recently where I looked at something and I couldn't comprehend what it was because I had never seen that before. It was when that cat showed up in our yard.
Oh,
This cat showed
I
up
thought you
in
were
our
talking about
yard
the dead chicken.
and okay, that too, but this cat showed up in our yard and half of its head was missing. I didn't see it. I couldn't see it. Joe was like, "Oh my gosh, someone shot that cat. It's half its face is blown off." And I went over to look at it and I just saw that it was like missing an eye, but I couldn't see that its head was missing at all. I had to stare at it for a really long time. And then finally it came in and I could see that half of its head was missing, but my brain had
Mhm.
never seen anything like that before. So I couldn't form
Right.
a picture of what that was. And it was a really quick interaction. I'm explaining it like I was a retard and it took me an hour, but it was really only a
Fucking
couple
thing had
minutes.
maggots crawling around in its
Yeah.
cranial cavity.
Yummy.
Disgusting.
But so just maybe it was a few seconds or maybe a minute, but I couldn't actually see what Joe was telling me was right in front of my face because I had never seen something so gory before in real
Well,
life.
and think too about like people that explain like seeing aliens before or whatever, and everybody that says they've had that kind of encounter, they always describe them very differently.
Yeah.
And some of them are really tall and some of them are gray and some of them are green and whatever, and I think it's your perception, which also kind of lends to, if you've never seen something like that, or if you have seen something like that in the past and you don't recall, it's muscle memory that's recalling that for you.
Yeah,
So,
that's like Terry Lovelace when we had him on when he was a child. He saw 3 gray entities in his room and he
mhm,
described them as monkey men because
mhm,
in his little tiny brain, he was like, they kind of look like monkeys. They're kind of
mhm,
gangly and whatnot. So he just saw monkeys. And I
right.
don't know if that was a screen memory that they gave to him or if that was something his brain maybe really did.
That was what I
Mhm,
was going to say next, is that then you have the screen memory thing with aliens, and who knows what you actually saw, because you remember something different than what
right,
probably actually happened. So
right.
again, perception. But Catalyst, what do you think about we were talking a little bit about this sim theory stuff. So what was the thing that made you think this might actually be a simulation, and how would you actually define simulation? Because I know people have different ideas on that.
Right. I wouldn't define it as a simulation, as in like the Matrix with ones and zeros falling type of thing. I would describe it as more of an organic simulation that that our creator has made. And what that creator is, I don't know, but this is definitely some sort of organic thing that we are in. I mean, we can touch, we can feel. There's just certain aspects to it that make me think that, shit, I don't know. And I didn't even smoke weed today, and I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh,
That's because I'm rubbing off on you.
Well, no, so
Or
I get what you're saying. So there are aspects of our reality that look programmed, like the way that a flower grows perfectly or the way that humans grow. It looks like programming, but it's definitely organic.
Yes. And to piggyback off of that, you see copy and paste like all the time. And I know I can talk about this kind of shit on your guys' show because you're just as raunchy as me, but have you guys seen the picture where it was like even God copy and paste, and it shows different things in nature that look like a vagina?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tree trunks look a lot like vaginas from time to time. You just Google it.
We did on Planet Retard, we did a whole article on the penis plant too. It looks exactly like a penis. I mean, no joke, with a vein and
Uncanny.
everything.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when I look at that, and I've moved around a lot in my life, and I noticed, especially when I was growing up in school, in my class, there was always the same people. I always had the funny fat kid, and then I had like the cute jock that all the girls wanted to be around, and then there was always the other shit clown talker like me. Yeah, those things are just.
I'll take two, please.
All those, and I was like, there's no way that's fucking real. But yeah, have you guys ever noticed that? And then when I started noticing similarities in people, then I see them everywhere. It's just like a little subtle differences. And yesterday I was in San Francisco, and we were at this restaurant, and the guy that was serving us, I looked at my friend and I was like, what movie was that guy in? And she was like, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. And I was like, it looks like the brother from Something About Raymond, Tell Me I'm Wrong. And then she looked at him and she was like, oh my God. So like when I see people, like I can pick out certain features, and I just see like you were copy and pasted. So I feel like we're dealing with a shit ton of NPCs.
Yeah, that and NPCs have been on the talking points of a lot of shows, including ours lately. And I think it's because people notice more now. Once that idea came out, they're like, shit. And the idea that the NPCs are more like biological clones, or I say robot loosely. I don't necessarily mean robots like in the movies, but more of a Westworld type of thing, That's what it seems like it is. It could maybe not even be a husk of a person. Maybe it's not a real person that just has no soul. It could just be a machine or something. What do you think about clones? Do you think that's something that's out there?
Well, have you guys dove into Donald Marshall at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so Donald Marshall is so fucking interesting, and I would love to have him on my show, but apparently he doesn't do podcasts anymore because he's scared for his life. But this guy claims that he would go to the every time he would go to sleep, that they would bring his body into a clone at the celebrity cloning center where the queen was always there. He claims that Miley Cyrus stabbed him in the stomach. He would get beaten every night. He claims that he's responsible for 90% of every popular song that's been written since like 89 up until the early 2000s. And there's actually a picture of him dead on one of Megadeth's album covers. And a lot of this shit he says sounds so fucking far off, but at the same time, like, so did Flat Earth when I first heard about it.
So look at the world we live in.
Yeah, so that's why I think they let this community, like they're letting us flourish because they're like, it's okay. They sound crazy, so who cares? But it could totally 100% be true because we know the government squashes and lies about every single thing. So if they're going to let someone out, they're going to let out the person who's going to say the most wild shit because they'll be like, oh, you believe that? Whatever.
And that's why I think people like Alex Jones are allowed to be out as much as they are, is because they can. I'm not going to even go as far as controlled opposition, but it's kind of an easy target to be like, this guy's crazy, therefore everything he says is crazy, and then nobody listens to him. But set people do.
Yeah. To go back, I absolutely believe that there are clones, but we also have like body doubles and stuff like that. What I was going to say about cloning is Tila Tequila came out and said that she had been in a car accident and the her now is actually her clone. Rapper B.O.B. got dropped from his label because he was reaching out to Donald Marshall asking if he had seen any of his clones at the cloning centers and shit like that. And then you have people like Will Smith, where he's being interviewed by somebody and he's like, well, what about that place we go to every night? And he was like referring to the cloning centers, and Will Smith just kind of laughed it off, like, we don't talk about that.
What the fuck?
So I have a theory on the cloning centers, and I've thought this for a while because this is literally the only thing on the planet that makes any sense to me. I think that they're headquartered in Antarctica because look at all the celebrities and shit that fly in there, especially like before all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And all these, politicians and movie stars and rappers and all that stuff were going to Antarctica. And it's interesting that it happened right before, the pandemic hit, because look at how many people they were coming out saying died during
Yeah.
the first wave of the pandemic. And I'm like, okay. I think that's like Cloning Center USA. That's what I
It
think.
makes sense because they could keep it in a deep freeze, and maybe
Mhm.
when they say people like John Kerry took a trip down there, maybe he never did. Maybe he died, and they're actually making a reason to send his clone back from
Mhm.
Antarctica because they got to replace him.
Well,
Makes
and
sense.
look at all the people that supposedly died in a space shuttle Challenger, and all these other events, shootings and all of that stuff. And then you see them in other places. So are they really crisis actors, or are they really clones?
I think I think that both could actually be possible. And I'm kind of known for being the crazy person that screams at the top of the roof that Eminem died in either 2005, 2006 and was replaced by a clone because he refused to go along with their stupid fucking agenda.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of things to back this theory up. The news reported that Eminem died in a car crash in 2005, and then you never heard anything about it again. He goes to rehab for a long time. You don't hear shit from him. And then he comes back. He's a totally different rapper. His bone structure is different. He has different colored eyes. His
Mhm.
earlobes don't have piercings anymore.
Mhm.
And the way that he raps is not the same at all. And he's all on board with government pushing.
Mhm.
Huh. I don't think I've looked into that one. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody looks at the Biden cloning thing. I mean, it's obviously obvious to me that there's like at least 3 or 4 different Bidens. If you look at pictures from him from
Oh
even like
yeah.
10 years ago to now, it's a different fucking dude. It doesn't even look anywhere near like the same dude. Sorry,
Mhm.
I cut you
I
off.
was just gonna say I never even heard that Eminem died. I
Mhm.
never heard that at
Yeah,
all.
there was a news story about that, but look at Dave Chappelle too, where he like disappeared off the planet for a very long time and then came back and like looks very different, and mannerisms are very different too. So I mean, Eminem wouldn't be the first person that's happened to, you know. Freddie
Yeah.
Mac.
But however, when Chappelle did come back, he was doing like a fire talk type of a setting in front of some college students, and he was talking about Martin Lawrence running through the streets screaming that they're trying to kill me, and
Mhm.
how they tried to paint him crazy and shit. And he said maybe it's not us that's crazy, maybe it's the environment that we're in is very sick.
Mhm.
And so if he was a clone and they were being able to manipulate what they want him to say and push, I doubt that he would say that.
Well, and the funny thing is, did you guys see that movie with Martin Lawrence in it where he was like staying in a hotel or something like that, and he was talking all through this movie about how he's trying to do his comedy stuff, and then there's like these people telling him that he has to like he killed somebody and you have to do all of these things that we say to keep your stardom and whatever. Greg and I
No.
were like, what the hell? This is like a
Do you remember what that's called?
let me see if I can
Look
find
it
it.
up.
We just watched that not too terribly long ago. It was really weird. Oh no, that was Kevin Hart. Never mind.
Oh, well, even better because
Okay. He's probably another clone too. He probably died in that car wreck, a couple years back.
well,
didn't look
he
into that,
came
but-
back really quickly,
He healed very
that's-
fast.
very fast. So that would make sense. So to answer your guys' question, yes, I believe clones are real.
Yeah. And for anybody out there who's like, "Oh, it's crazy. If they had clones, we'd know about it." First of all, I don't even know what to say to you. But second, I just think of it like this: there was a cloning Dolly the sheep or whatever it was back.
Oh
in
yeah, long time ago.
And that was when we were told we successfully cloned a sheep, and then it just dropped off a cliff after that. They just don't mention it anymore. Like they're not. Apparently, it's probably against the law or something, which is probably why we don't hear about it. But just think about it that way. If there's in the 90s somebody cloned a sheep, that means they've been working on that for decades before that, which means they probably achieved it somewhere before that. And you think those mad scientists aren't trying that shit on humans? That's probably the first thing
Oh,
they want to
100% they do. I mean, because they do that with animals and stuff all the time. Dolly was the first one, but that's what they do. They try to replicate stuff. And the reason why that's so interesting now, have you guys heard that they're 3D printing blood?
No,
Oh, I heard meat, but not blood.
Yeah.
like a certain blood type.
They are there's a trial, a clinical trial right now going on. They're 3D printing blood, and they're looking for people who want to like receive like this donated blood. And I was like, okay, so given what we know about the nanostructures that they're finding in people's veins right now, and then they've got this new blood product that they've created, I sure as fuck don't want to take it because you don't know what the hell that is.
Well, if they can make clones, so they can, yeah, sure, they can clone celebrities, but if they can clone regular people off the streets, they're
Mhm.
probably testing all that shit on them too.
Mhm.
You'd think they would just grab someone who no one's going to miss and then test that weird 3D printed blood on them.
Because they have 100 other clones lined up that are just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's some Resident Evil shit, when she just finds all of her clone piles that failed in the big pit.
Or like in Moon. all of his
Have you
clones.
guys looked at 2045.com? It's an actual website, and it has all these different foundations that have bought into it, and what all these foundations things are that are involved with it. So they're able to harness your consciousness. If you want to have a clone made of you, you can. And so for people that like have AIDS that want to have their own kid that doesn't have AIDS, yep, that's it right there. This is actually already something that is happening.
Wow.
yeah.
Nuts. It's
And
funny
they've been
because it's
doing
not
that for a
smart.
long time. And if you look at some of the things that are on this website, they talk about cryogenic freezing. They talk about removing the brain and suspending it in solution for reimplantation into other
I believe there's an affiliates
things.
tab on there too, and it
Yeah.
shows like all the people that and what they're contributing to the company. And I believe they just earned another $10 million donation, if I'm not mistaken. So this is definitely something that they've been working on for a very long time. And so for
Wow.
anybody to roll their eyes about cloning, it's kind of to roll your eyes that there's not cloning is more like it.
Exactly.
That is fucking wild. I've never heard of that site. It's funny too because the site said not secure. I was
That's
like, yeah,
like-
no
Well,
shit.
and
You
you
know,
want
this is like soul capturing. Like, where does your soul go? Like, I don't think you can really harness a consciousness and a soul, but if they can, that's taking you away from God or away from the source.
Well,
and putting
that's the
different-
agenda, and that's what like Elon Musk, everybody's Lord and Savior these days. That's what Neuralink does basically, is try to where they have outside control of your brain, and he's got some super duper interesting companies that he's hooked up with to also do 3D printing of vaccinations and all kinds of interesting shit that people probably don't even know is going
Yeah, I
on.
wasn't sure about that. I didn't know about that 3D printing for vaccinations and stuff, but
Mhm.
I did dig a little bit into like who his mother was and who his grandparents were and stuff like that.
Mhm.
He's definitely heavily into the occult, and his whole family has
Well,
been.
look at his mom, for
Yes.
Jesus' sake.
I don't think I've seen his mom. She
The
fucked up or what?
the pictures of her that are available on the internet, she literally looks like a high priestess of some satanic temple. I mean, just wow, this
Oh, she
woman.
looks like a fucking a cartoon of somebody who's a high priestess in a temple. Let me throw these pictures up here. Look at that. She looks like Cruella de Vil.
Mhm.
That was my first thought when I first seen her, especially that second picture right there.
Yeah. The one with her hair all crazy.
Well, you should see the ones like the one where they were in the Halloween stuff together, and there's several other ones from like uh gala parties and whatnot. Look at
Oh yeah, like
this one, the one of the three.
This one right here.
Yep.
Sorry for the audio listeners. We're looking at pictures. Come over to Rockfin. Oh
I
yeah.
mean, maybe she's
Wow.
just really into heavy metal.
No, there's multiple pictures on the internet with her
Her
like
eyes
that.
look really scary. I'm sorry to
And then
interrupt you.
the chick on the left looks like a woman in black or something. Like
Uh-huh.
she's telling you didn't see that UFO.
Yeah. So his mom does modeling, and she has a lot of very interesting pictures on the internet. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, and these are the people that we're looking at. I mean, everybody's been harping on Elon a lot lately too, because it's just, I mean, to people who are looking into this stuff, isn't it glaringly obvious he's not? If at best he's a great troll, like I'll give him that, but to think that he's going to save us from something is just as stupid as thinking Trump or anybody else is going to save us
Mhm.
from something. Like, what do you do? Haven't we been through this before? This last couple of years?
Exactly.
Come on, pull your head out of your ass.
Save yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I totally forgot what I was gonna say, but I was gonna pull it back to the whole cloning thing again, and I'm fucking brain farting. I'm sorry, you guys.
I am, just so everybody knows, I am not a clone. There is no one else like me in the world, just
that you
saying.
know of.
We did see a clone of Greg's son, though, the other day when we were shopping, and he was right in front of us, and I'm like, holy crap, that he looks identical. Look at him. Same haircut, wore the same kind of clothes, same face, literally the whole 9 yards.
Doppelganger.
Yep. I was like, that's weird, but
That's what I was gonna say earlier when Catalyst was talking about clones and stuff. Is it's like templates, and I see I think it's My Maria on Instagram and Human Vibration are always posting about this kind of stuff, like templates. They show different pictures, like Matt Damon or and some other guy, or like old pictures, like Jay-Z. There's an old ass picture of him, not him obviously, but his template or something from like the 1800s. If you look it up, there's all kinds of crazy fucking pictures.
Greta Thunberg as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was spot on too.
Mhm.
But so everything seems to follow these templates, like not just people, but events that happen, history, you know, just different things all seem to follow these rough outlines of things. And that's what to me plays more into the simulation thing. But I did agree with you that it's more of an organic simulation. I think I used that actual term not that long ago, but yeah, I don't think it's zeros and ones in a computer, but it's atoms or something, some kind of pixel. Yeah.
Right. And I find it very weird, and maybe he said this on accident, but there was a couple years ago when Donald Trump said that people are dying that have never died before. That just struck me as something really weird to say. Like, why would you say that? And this is I remembered what I was going to say is when we were talking about why would people be doing this and cloning and trying to manipulate DNA and whatnot. But like, what if these aren't people that we're dealing with? What if these are entities or beings that have been here for a really fucking long time, and they're trying to manipulate the DNA of us because they don't like humans, they don't want us to be here. And I think that could also fall into what's going on with CERN right now.
That falls in with the Anunnaki story, and how like these were, whatever divine beings or whatever you want to call it. And so they needed to build this civilization, and they didn't want to do it themselves, so they created a worker class. What does that sound familiar? And then they want to destroy our DNA because the worker class got very intelligent and caught on to what these elitist class were doing, which I'm just going to throw this out there. I believe in God wholeheartedly. I don't question that. But is that a possibility? Yes, because that is exactly what they're doing right now, and genetically manipulating people. So, just
Dude,
saying.
that's crazy. We just talked to a guy the other day, Todd Cave, about how he
I love
basically
Todd.
the old gods were basically a form of AI. I'm like,
Yes.
damn. that
He was
makes
kind of
sense.
saying they hijacked. So in between coming from the source to this realm, they're
Mhm.
kind of in between, and they like lead us back here. And this is the place where they can harvest whatever energy they want or whatnot.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I don't think God would actually let all of that happen unless he's just waiting to see what we do or giving us that ultimate choice,
Mhm.
because it's our choice to upload our brain into AI
Right.
or,
Right.
that's going to be the ultimate choice of one person
I think that's going to be hell,
themselves.
though. It made a lot of sense to me that the Bible calls hell the bottomless pit, which is an archaic term, but it could mean being stuck in a fucking machine forever that has unlimited
Mhm.
bandwidth. That sounds like hell to me. If they were to actually able to do that and upload your essence to the computer
Right.
and put it on a server farm somewhere, how's that any different than the Matrix? Like that sounds like actual hell.
Well, and why do you think that all of the AI technology that's out there right now studies what our reactions are going to be to certain stimuli? And they have all these programs, and General McChrystal worked on this project for quite a long time through DARPA, where it was like, we're going to give you certain stimuli. We're going to tell you, just like take, for instance, the supposed Russian missile that hit Poland.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And we're going to study what people's reactions are. And we're going to build our AI to predict that. So why else would they need to know what the human emotional response is going to be?
It's possible that the Antichrist could actually come in the form of AI and is already here, and
Mhm.
we're carrying it around in our back pocket every day.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about that before too, how the beast system seems to be based in AI because it's kind of a pseudo god, kind of knowing all through all the data paths it has. And
And
Mhm.
everyone's so dependent. Has your phone ever died? Or you forget your phone? Heaven forbid.
no, they
People
got you to
freak
want it.
out. Yeah,
Right.
people lose their minds if they don't have their phone. They have to be connected all the time.
It's an addiction.
Mhm.
What a better way to make people take the mark, so to speak, than make it
Mhm.
something addicting, something they want and need all the
Even your
time.
mom has an
Mhm.
iPhone now. That's pretty incredible. She's like very anti-technology,
So I
but
heard
she
it was
loves her iPhone. She uses emojis and everything.
I think it was Mysterious Universe today talking about how he draws the line at, like, yes, everybody has a phone, a computer, all this stuff. He's like, I draw the line at putting things in my body, like as far as a chip or
Right.
anything else that is, once it's in there, it's in there. That's where I would draw the line. He's like, because at least with a phone, I still have the option to throw it in a drawer and leave town or something. something in your body, that's when you're really in the system.
Well,
more than
and
you
it's funny because there has been a drove of chip stuff come out lately, and they have the ocular implant that you can get in your eye. They have implants you can put in your fingernail. They have implants that you can put under your skin or up in your arm, kind of like they used to do with like the Norplant birth control, where they just insert this chip, or you can get one right here. What a better
Hmm.
place to get one implanted, huh? So that you can just scan that and pay for your meals at vending machines and unlock
Oh.
your car. I saw one the other day that you implant in the top of your hand to unlock your car.
How fucking lazy are you? Are you serious? You're gonna get a chip
Exactly.
and unlock your goddamn car. They deserve the chip then if they're gonna do that.
I
Everything
mean,
is great.
maybe Bill Gates was onto something with this whole vaccine thing. I don't know.
I was trying to figure out if they think we're stupider than we are, or if as a general population we actually are stupider than they think, because they've got away with a lot, but also a lot of things. Well, I think a lot of stuff's been stopped, but with the implants and the like the VR era and stuff, it's
Mhm.
crazy because I always think that maybe they made the Oculus and all these dumb VR headsets, maybe they made them so big and ugly and retarded looking and uncomfortable so that when they come out with the thing, like you said, like an ocular chip, where they're like, guess
Mhm.
what? You can do VR now in your head. It's going to be
Mhm.
so much better than having this fucking screen in your face and in the kitchen, everything's just all in your head.
Mhm.
Makes a lot of sense why they'd make it retarded looking to
Yeah, make it
start out.
uncomfortable first so they can so they're creating the problem
Right,
and
yeah.
creating a product that people want.
Are
and
you
then saying,
tired of
"Well,
looking
this
like a
is even
fucktard in your
better."
kitchen?
Yeah, just get this implant in your head. But they know people are easily led. That's why they know it's going to be easy to get people to buy in. I
Right.
don't think they think that everybody is stupid, but the people who they are calling and screaming that are so stupid in the mainstream media are people like us who are like, fuck you, I don't want that shit, you're crazy. Then
Mhm.
we're the crazy people and we're the dumb people. And when they double down on that, and I say this all the time on the show, every time I see something in the news about this is a conspiracy or blah, 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 I'm like, oh, yes, that means that
Tell
person
me more.
is challenging them. No, I'm
Mhm.
not saying that person is right or wrong. It just means that the news and the narrative is like, they're freaking out a little bit. They're
Right.
like, ooh, we're going to have to make this person look really bad because they're onto something.
Mhm. Yep.
Yep. That's all of the Kanye thing too. They're making him look like the worst person ever. And did you guys catch any of that? And we just talked about it on a show a couple weeks ago, but it was funny because I saw a meme today that was like, they call you an anti-Semite, but they never call you a liar. You ever think about that?
Uh-huh.
I
And
saw you guys
well,
posted that, and I
Check something out.
reposted it for you. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that that it's going to be one of those things where if you're not on board, that you're going to be completely just shunned from society. But what do you guys think about what's going on in Canada right now? Is that something that is just to get people like us pissed off and infuriated, or is that something that's really going to take place where they're talking about they've already been trying to implement where if somebody is considered or deemed insane, crazy, or has psycho issues, then they can be put to sleep. And now they're suggesting that they deem people that are refusing to take the vaccine as needing to be put in a psychiatric medication or be deemed as psycho, basically.
and you want to know what's funny about that is during the pandemic, and this happened in the end of 2020, the College of Psychology updated the diagnosis code books to include a specific and special diagnosis code for people like me who do not want to get vaccinated or refuse vaccination. And it is listed under psychiatric disorders. It is really
Jesus.
true. It is a thing. Mhm.
That's scary. So with this Canada thing, I've only seen people posting it on Instagram. So that's what makes me really question if this is something legit or if it's just something that's going around to get people pissed off and steal their energy, basically.
Mhm.
That seems to be about 50-50 these days, where something will come out that is actually real,
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets, like the PayPal thing, people freaking out about PayPal charging you $2,500 for every
Right.
instance of misinformation, whatever. Everybody flipped out, and then they're like, "Oh, never mind, we're not going to do that." I guarantee they're still going to do it, but
I was going to say, and then right after they said they were walking that back, it is actually really a still a thing. It is. And it's the same thing like what you're talking about, Catalyst, because they have already added that to the national coding system. And that's global. And so that information feeds right directly into the World Health Organization. I've said it before. They literally have everything everybody has been diagnosed with, every treatment, surgery, literally anything and everything that you've ever had done. They have access to all that information. Thank you, Obama, for doing that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's scary. That's so scary. And if they actually start doing that in Canada, then it's going to roll out everywhere, and we are really going to have to, run in the hills and live like these movies of after the world ends type shit.
That would create a war. There's no way that would be a civil
They
war.
might want
People
that, though.
would rise up. I know, but if your loved ones start getting put to sleep, people are going to want to fight. They're not going to sit back and be like, "Oh, guess I better go hide." They're going to fight, and people will form.
But will we? Because we did that happen in the past. I mean, look at all of the people that were euthanized because they were Black, or they were poor, or they were mentally disabled, or, whatever. We have done that throughout history. So this is not a new thing. This is not, unfortunately, a lot of people have never heard of that before, but this is not a new thing. And people let their relatives do that. It was like, oh, well, they were born mentally challenged, so we're going to put them in this home. And I don't know if a lot of people watched the Fauci movies. Did you guys watch it?
Oh, hell no.
Okay, there was a part in there. There was a children's home in New York that was for like mentally disabled children. That Dr. Fauci experimented on these children. They forced vaccinations. They didn't feed them. There was all kinds of stuff like that. And another one was in a home for colored people, both in the state of New York, and both of them, we did horrible things to these kids.
Yeah,
Horrible.
with the black kids, wasn't he pumping them up full of AZT to see how they would react to it?
Yes.
And so, so and then to get back to this whole thing in Canada is if we don't do anything about it, it goes back to the old occult rules. Is if basically they gave us a chance, they showed us what they were going to do, we automatically accept it if we don't stand up and revolt against it. And so they basically have our permission to go forward.
Tacit permission.
I just think with the way that information is out there, information is given more freely now with the phones, with this, enemy that we're talking about. I just don't think people now would let it happen. And I think there would be a lot of different ways that people could fight, whether they're hacking into the system or forming, hunting parties. I'm not sure. But I don't think we have way better technology than they did whenever they were doing all this other stuff. I just think that there are other ways that we could fight. And I have faith that people would fight.
Like Biden said, you're going to need missiles and F-16s.
Exactly.
That's fine. I'd rather die.
I think all we need is hackers, and we can shut everything down. Their missiles are useless if they can't fire them.
Yeah. We were actually chuckling about that today because we were out driving, and they're like spraying the skies and stuff, and how they always say they're airplanes. These were like going straight down, like in a straight down line, like a hella speed. And I was like, wouldn't it just be an awful thing if somebody started shooting down all of these, whatever they are, I'm going to say they're drones. They're definitely not planes. Yeah, that are spraying the sky. So
Yeah, I don't.
Have you guys
I'm not
looked into
calling for violence.
I
So
was just gonna say I love your stand-up comedy, and I didn't know you were gonna show us some of your.
CIA Bob, if you're listening, I love you. As a joke.
This is a comedy interview, as you can see by our title. What do you guys think about that, though? Has anybody looked into, like, those flight tracker apps you can get? Like, on a day when it looks like they're spraying really heavy, like, check and see if those are all actual flights that are taking place. Has anybody ever done that?
No, that's
Somebody
a
send
great
me that.
idea, though. I wonder if
Yeah.
anybody has. I haven't. I did take a video yesterday when I was going to. I'm going to post it on Instagram here, is because I forgot to. But I was looking. I was like, damn, they're spraying a lot of chemtrails today.
Mhm.
And I was watching one of them, and it was like it was going straight up and down. And the weird thing was, is I saw the shadow of the chemtrail behind it, and it showed up on my video too. So I'm going to post it. I'm like, what the
Oh,
fuck is
weird.
that?
Wow.
Yeah, behind it. What is it reflecting off of? What is it shadowing off of? Is really interesting. So I'm going to post that. I'm hoping I get some reactions or maybe an explanation.
Maybe it's from all the metal that they're putting in the air.
I don't know. And that's another thing too, is we were dropping my roommate's dad off. He was flying back to Paris, but he's like really big into X22 and Q guy and stuff like that, which I think is really awesome that there's a 70-year-old out there that's just balls deep into that shit. But when I was talking about the chemtrails, and he was like, well, that's one I can't get on board with. He's like, I was like, oh, damn. And I was like, I don't even know if there's jet fuel. And he was like, there's definitely jet fuel. It has a very distinctive smell. It smells like kerosene. And I was like, okay, well, maybe you're right. I don't know.
It is kerosene, right? Isn't that the
I
whole
don't know.
thing?
That's one of the conspiracies, is that it is kerosene, because if they were actually putting jet fuel in this, it was like it would be too heavy to fly the plane. You would run out of fuel, and all kinds of different stuff. Big Country from Whiskey, Beer, and Conspiracies broke it down to me one time really well. Unfortunately, it wasn't a recording, and I'd like to get him on, and so he could break it down for me again. But the way he explained it to me, I'm like, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things with weird plane anomalies. Another one, like, some people think there's no such thing as a jet engine. They're like, it's a turbofan. It's just a fan that spins really fast to get the air moving. So there's all kinds of ideas. Or the amount of the weight that the fuel takes in the wings, like that's where they store it, as the wings, is like way heavier than it could ever. I don't know. Google it, people. You can look at all these crazy
I'll have to ask my
ideas.
sister-in-law about this. She's getting her pilot's license, so.
Oh, nice.
Well, if they stored it in the wings, wouldn't the wings break because of the weight of the fuel?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but planes really haven't changed much since I was a kid. I actually can't even think that they have changed at all, have they? Maybe the inside's a little bit nicer, but they all look exactly the same from when I was a little kid.
Oh, yeah. Nothing much
Kind
changed.
of like cars. I mean, they just change like the style or the body a little bit, but nothing.
Planes still smell the
crazy.
same, that's for sure.
Yeah. Planes are expensive to make, so they're going to make that shit last as long as they possibly can.
Well, we know that it is absolutely possible to run engines off of water, off of any type of a water. And I'm assuming that when you're up that high, right, that there's going to be quite a bit of precipitation. So maybe you only need the jet fuel to get up to speed, and then you have these things kick in that is using the H2O that's in the sky to I don't know, maybe.
That would make
very
sense.
interesting.
That was the article that we read the other day where they were talking about launching that. It was a spacecraft.
The Artemis launch?
I think so. And they were like, oh, we'll just use the water that's on the moon. Hopefully there's some there, and that will fuel the
that
craft. And we're
statement
like,
itself,
what?
hopefully, there's enough water on the moon. There isn't water on the moon according to the last 6 decades. What are we talking about, people? Yeah. We read that on.
You are not supposed to question, Joe.
It was on our Rockfin Premium show the other day, the Planet Retard Report. I read a story about the Artemis launch and how they had a module attached to it with mannequins in it so they could test the effects of the flight on the human body. Don't we already fucking know that? Like a lot?
3 crash test dummies. That's so funny.
Well, and that's funny that they they simulate these things with crash test dummies because obviously the human body is a little bit different than plastic that they make those mannequins with.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and shouldn't we know
Hmm.
all about how the effects are on the human body traveling to the moon and back? We've
Going
done
through the
that
Van
before,
Since
Allen
we've
right?
been.
Yeah.
Why do you need crash test dummies for that shit? You should have an awesome spacecraft by now, since the last one was built way back in the day when shit was ugly and stupid.
Mhm.
And it should be great. And they're just like, oh no, we're just being extra careful. Like, fuck you, liar.
Oh, that's a great question for Catalyst, actually. What do you think the moon is? I mean, obviously I can tell you don't really think we went to the moon or anything, but what do you think the moon actually is?
It would all just be speculation. I have no idea. I have watched that extremely long documentary where it breaks down how it's possibly a reflection of the Earth, and that's how we used to use it to navigate. That it has all of the continents, not just the ones that we're told about when you look up
Right.
at, and that's what the dark spots are. It's just a mirrored image of where we live. There's also, and I can't think of the guy's name, and he died shortly after coming out and talking about the moon is actually a gas, and I think that both of those are possible. I definitely know that when during the day here, especially last month, I was seeing the moon 24/7. It was
Mhm.
like 2 weeks where I could see the moon, and it's when it's like half shaped. If I shouldn't be able to see blue sky behind it, right? It just doesn't make sense to me that if it's a solid thing and it's reflecting the sun and it keeps taking the same exact shape throughout the calendar, right? Throughout the month it takes the same exact shape all the time, and yet the sun and the moon are rotating at different speeds. Then wouldn't that change the way that the moon is shaped every single month?
Yeah, you'd think.
Mhm.
So the funny thing about that is that I always thought because they just released a new picture of the moon, like super close up. I don't know if it was the Artemis or whatever the fuck. And the thing I always think about is it does look like a fucking 3D thing. But then again, perception is reality, and we're trained to see what we're trained to see. So it could be that. I have a telescope. I've taken pictures of the moon, and it looks pretty similar. It's not near as good a quality, obviously, but I'm like, is that just what I'm supposed to see? Because that's what we're told to see is craters that are perfectly round for some fucking reason and no skid marks anywhere, from being
Mhm.
glanced by an asteroid.
I would
But,
love to look at the moon through a telescope now that I look at it through different eyes now. I've always been fascinated with that. I've wanted a telescope ever since I was little. My grandma used to work for JPL. Actually, that's where she retired from. And so she would give me all these pictures, images, I should say now, from all the satellites that she would get at JPL. And I used to have like this big binder of these 5x10 glossy pictures of all the planets and everything like that. And now that I'm looking at like these amateur footage, and it looks nothing like those pictures that my grandma used to give me. It looks nothing like the pictures that NASA puts out. It's what it looks like is light reflecting through a glass of water.
Mhm.
yeah. And I've actually got not pictures, but we looked through
We
the
did that.
telescope at
We've
a
talked
couple of
about it on the
stars.
show a
Yeah.
ton, but it was after watching that very long documentary as well. And I think it was that one. But Joe focused it in on a star that we saw that was red, and we could see it it looked like it was, shining, flickering, and it looked identical to that documentary. I mean, no joke. It was like light reflecting in water through the telescope, and we were looking at it with our eyes too, like,
And it
whoa.
was all cymatic looking, like
Yeah, it was
patterny.
Mhm.
nuts.
So what the thing that shout out Moral Bob, he did bring up an interesting thing the other day. So Venus, when you see it in the morning, right? So Venus is between us and the Earth, and on Rockfin you can see this picture I'm pointing to. How the fuck in the morning do we see Venus if the sun is behind it? Isn't the reason we see planets is because the sun is reflecting off of them? So how do you see Venus and then the sun come up behind it in the morning? How is that possible?
That wouldn't be possible if what they're telling us is true.
Mhm.
So that's
Is
kind
that
of
a
where
new one on you?
is that what?
I say, is that kind of a new one on you? Because that's the first time I'd even thought of that, and Bob brought it up. I'm like, holy shit, that doesn't make any sense, huh?
Yeah, that is the first time that sprung on me, but he makes a great point. And to go back to what I was saying in the beginning is make sure that you're just disproving. You're not trying to prove, you disprove. And that right there is another disproof of what they're telling us. So
Mhm.
obviously they're lying to us. And I think that a lot of people can agree with that. Even people that are Globers still know that NASA is not fully telling us the truth all the time.
And I would like to know where they get their math from, like how they measure a light year or, light speed or, how many millions of miles away something is. What measuring device did you use to come up with that? It's kind of like, it makes total sense to me, like going to the moon and the president called the moon from a
Sounds like a lie.
landline, which is wired. Now, I don't know, but if you ran the phone line from back in the day through the Van Allen radiation belt, that shit would burn up. Obviously, they were worried about the spaceships burning up. So how the hell would you insulate a phone line to get that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's because
No.
Batman was on the first Apollo missions that went to the moon, and he shot his little cable from the moon to the Earth, and then they just had the little cup phones, and that's how that happened.
Was it Batman or could Spider-Man have actually shot a web and that's how we like insulated a phone line to
To me,
get it?
that would be actually more believable than the official story at this point, and that's why
Right.
the thing drives me nuts. Like, if people still think, I'm very careful the way I word it. I'm like, if you still think we landed on the moon, you're fucking dumb. No, if you still think that everything that was told to us about that story was real,
Right.
then
Fuck off.
I don't have anything else to say to you, because there's so many provable fucking things that cannot be.
Mhm.
And I
Well,
mean,
and
that's a whole story.
I
We've done
can
it.
say too that like back then, um, when you picked up the phone to call somebody, they were like party lines. You could hear other people talking on the phone, and it's not because you're dialing some number. It's you just literally picked it up off the receiver. So how are they getting such a clear conversation from the Oval Office to the moon without the party line intercept on the line as well? I'm
I
just
Well,
totally
saying.
forgot
it's the
about that.
government.
Yeah. And it was
I
a thing. I mean, yeah, I'd pick it up like to call my grandma or something, and it'd be like, "Hello? Hello? Is somebody on here? Hello?" And it wasn't at our house. It was just called the party line. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. You could hear people talking even when the phone was ringing. When you were calling the other
Yes.
person, you could faintly hear like other people
Mhm.
talking. Like, what the fuck is this?
Mhm.
But yeah, you're trying to tell me that they called the moon with a landline, and it from where I live in California to drive from California to Las Vegas, it is flat and open as shit. And I should have a very, very good signal from those fucking satellites up there,
Mhm.
and my phone should work perfectly. How come I never have a single bar for like 6 hours between California and Las Vegas?
Mhm.
Why is that? That's because there's no fucking cell phone towers out there. Everything is down here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Speaking of what Janet was saying about how they measure stuff, I'm sure there's a big Neil deGrasse Tyson explanation of how they measure that the sun is 93 million miles away, that exact number. But I think it comes, I want to say it's some kind of trigonometry or some shit, something I never took. But from what I understand, if you have something that's far away and you want to figure out the distance, you have to have a third point or something and know where that third point, how far that third point is, and then you can like triangulate and figure out how close the sun is. But what else are they, if that's true, I could be totally butchered that, I don't know, but if that's true, what exactly out there do they know 100% is that distance, so they can triangulate everything else?
Mhm.
Because without that, it's just theoretical, and that means it's technically not real until you fucking prove it. And
That's correct.
we are. Yeah.
It's theoretical actuated math.
It says to find the distance of a light year, you multiply the speed by the number of hours in a year, 8,766. The result, 1 light year, equals a number that is beyond my comprehension, 9.5 trillion. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, how did you come up with that? I'll tell you the answer,
It's
Janet.
math.
It's very, very simple. Somebody smarter than you already figured it out, so don't even worry about it.
Thank you.
Somebody made that shit up.
Now go write a book report on it
They told
and
you what
tell
to
us all
perceive.
about it.
Yeah, they told you what to perceive, and now that's what you see when you look out the airplane window.
Have you guys heard the theory that time is speeding up, or the speed of light is increasing? So time is speeding up, so things are happening faster, and that's why it seems like a year takes less time for us than it did back in the day. Not
I've
just
heard
because we
people-
were children, but
I've heard people talking about that, and I do have a theory on this, but I do know, are you going to where in the Bible it says in the end days, the days will be shorter?
Oh,
Is that where you're
no,
going to go with that?
no. I just heard this theory. It was actually pretty brief. And I know that our cell phones are based on whatever they tell us we should be seeing. And every single one of my clocks, that's like, it's a digital clock, but it's analog. It's not attached to anything. It's not a smart clock. Every single clock is 2 to 3 minutes behind my cell phone every single day, no matter what, even when I fix them.
Mhm.
So I was just wondering, like, what
And
the
you
fuck is
know,
that?
and you know what that is? It's an anatomical clock which runs off of the Earth's magnetic energy. We have the same thing
Anatomical
here.
clock?
Yeah, we call them an anatomical clock, and it runs off of the Earth's magnetic energy, and it keeps like perfect time. And Jenna's not wrong, because ours is the exact same way.
I was
Every-
wondering if anyone out there, any listeners are experiencing the same thing. So my phone
Mhm.
and my computer. So computers are pretty much the same as iPhones, obviously. So
Right.
those two clocks are identical. But
Mhm.
our oven, coffee maker, my car, all of those clocks also match, but they're 2 to 3 minutes behind. And then I correct them. And then within a day or two, they're right back to being
Same
2
way.
to 3 minutes behind. So I'm
Mhm.
going to let it go and
'Cause they're
see
not
how far
connected to the
behind it gets.
grid or whatever?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I'm just wondering if anyone else is experiencing that.
So what was that thing you were talking about, Catalyst, with the end times prophesy the days getting shorter? What is that?
Well, I'm not a Bible scholar, and I just know
Really?
that a lot of Christians have been saying lately that in the end days it says that the days will become shorter.
Mhm.
My whole thing is I feel like when you're younger, everything is new to you. Therefore, and you're not distracted by so much shit and so much stress. So you are living in the moment more than you ever are. And the older you get, the less that you live in the moment, and therefore the time goes by a lot quicker because you're
Also, yeah. And you don't know what time is when you're a kid. You're not even thinking about, oh, it's 4 o'clock right now. I better go
Mhm.
play Candyland. Like, you don't think like
It's like
that.
when my kid used to ask what time it was when he was like, he'd be 3 and be like, "Dad, what time is it?" And my roommate at the time would be like, purple 30. Because
And
you
he's
don't know
like,
what
oh,
time
yes,
is.
thank you.
You ding dong.
But
I
so do you
like
think
that idea.
getting shorter, or do you think that because we're adults and as we grow older, we're so bound to time and that's why the days are shorter? Or do you think the days really are maybe getting shorter?
I think that both is possible because my grandmother died in the late 90s, and she told me that it seems like her days go by like this, like every day and every year goes by faster and faster for her. So I do believe that plays a role in it. As you get older, I just feel like that's just something that happens. Everything seems to go by a lot faster. Like when you're 10 years old and you think, you can't think back when I was 1. Oh my God, that seems like it was yesterday. I just had my fucking 20-year-old high school reunion, and I'm like, I really feel like we just graduated yesterday. This is weird. But to what you're saying, yes, I have noticed that I am constantly changing the clock on my microwave.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah,
And I
thank you.
thought
I
my
agree with you. Like, I get it.
microwave, I just thought it was broken. I didn't even think to like put 2 and 2 together. So now I'm gonna do the same experiment that you're doing. I'm not gonna change it, and well, I'm moving soon. So when I get into my new place, I'm gonna see if that happening on that microwave compared to my phone as well, and then I'm gonna document it as well.
Hell yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah, and if any listeners want to also reach out, do that, because I'm putting it up on screen. legitbatpod@gmail.com, or email these two fucks too. And
If
let
it
us
was
know
just
if you,
one thing, it wouldn't be a big deal. Like if it was just like our coffee maker or something, but it's our coffee maker, our oven, our microwave, and my car. that all
Right.
Are
don't
they
match.
all at the same?
They're all
time,
exactly
too?
the same, and my phone and my computer are the same, but they're 2 minutes ahead all the time.
Fucking crazy.
But that's
Mhm.
because I change it all the time, and then when I notice it, it's 2 minutes behind, and I'm like, God damn it, the kids are gonna be late for school. I can't look at this clock, so I have to leave it at a certain time every day. Time, we're so bound to
Ruled
it.
by the clock.
So
Yes.
yeah, so if I just don't change it, maybe you'll be getting some calls from Case in school, but whatever.
Whatever. I don't
Sorry,
care.
I was looking at the oven.
Well, you guys, you got anything else you want to cover before we get out of here and we can let you go? Because I do have to pee and I don't know what time it is. I guess it's really late where Janet is. I'm sorry, I totally forgot.
He's in the same time zone as us.
Right, but Janet's always a good sport, jumping on at the last fucking
Yeah,
minute
thank you
to
so
deal
much.
with our asses. We love
Even
you.
to put a bra on, that must mean I really love you, because those are torture
I know.
Feels
devices.
the love.
Yeah.
I kept mine on just for you. I almost took it off, and I'm like, well, if Janet's wearing a bra, I'll bring a bra.
You should have just wore a white t-shirt and dumped water on it. We can't see your tits
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
Well, Katillist, tell everybody again where they can find you and all your shit and what you're coming up with next, because you said pre-show you had something else in the works.
I do have something else in the works. Right now, you can find me at your grocery store shopping or begging for change on the street corner. But very soon, I will be rebranding a new show that I'm coming out with called Shatter the Matrix, where I'm going to be diving into some real stuff that well, I'm going to keep it a secret for now. How about that? It's going to be very, very
fine.
interesting.
Okay.
And it's going to be about 3 or 4 shows of just some things that I've uncovered that is just going to shatter the matrix. So
Fuck yeah, looking forward to it.
other than
yeah.
that, go check me out on Instagram, man.
Hell yeah, Instagram at Wh1te_Rabbi7. Just look on the screen. I'll put it in the show notes too.
Look
So
for the rabbi.
people that don't know how to use a search bar and are always asking for a link, I will put a link in the show notes for you guys. All right, Janet. And where can we find all your shit?
You can find me on every podcast platform, plus actualactivists.com. And for now, my video is only on Roku TV on Patriot Podcast Network, but I may be changing that soon. And I just want to say, the next time that we do a little meet and greet thingy Mr. Cat may be joining us because he is actually coming to Tennessee to be my neighbor. So
Oh,
there you
hell
go.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, thanks, you
Yep.
guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, all listeners, all the people on the Rock Fins, and all the things I totally forgot to plug at the beginning, like I was just talking about with Scott. Totally forgot to plug everything. I'll do it next time. It'll be fine.
Boner.
All right. Have a good night.